So, my dear children, this is the third and last part of Jane Eyre at Lowood Institution, written by Emily Bronte. So, till now, we had seen in the story that there is a girl, Jane Eyre, and unfortunately, her parents died when she was very young. Her uncle was very nice and he adopted her, but as the luck was not with Helen Burns, soon after the adoption, her uncle also died. Before the death of uncle, he took a promise from his wife that she would take care of Jane as her own child. But situation never goes like we want, and her aunt used to mistreat Jane. Her aunt was Mrs. Reed. After that, Mrs. Reed left this little girl Jane to a new school, charity school, which was Lowood Institution. There was the man, Mr. Brocklehurst, who was actually the owner of that institution. He was really not a good kind of person. He accused Jane that she used to lie in every little thing. But wherever there is sin, there is God. Jane got a very good friend in Helen, and also she got Miss Temple, the warden. When Miss Temple asked Jane to tell her story, she told the horrible story, the sad story of her childhood. And while she was narrating the story, she also mentioned the name of Mr. Lloyd, that he used to come at Jane's home to see her after she got fit. Miss Temple told Jane that she already knew who Mr. Lloyd was, and she told that she would write a letter to Mr. Lloyd. And if the answer comes in favor of Jane, then she will be declared as non-guilty in front of everyone. So now we will continue this story further. So Jane and Helen were still in the room of Miss Temple. See what happens now in the story. Miss Temple was pensive, means to think deeply. She was thinking deeply. Miss Temple was pensive for a few minutes. Then rousing herself, she said cheerfully, "But you two are my visitors tonight. I must treat you as such." She rang her bell. And Miss Temple gave a thought for a few minutes, and after that she roused herself up from her seat and she said cheerfully, she said happily, that you two are my guest for tonight and I must treat you like a guest. And she rang her bell. Miss Temple asked Barbara, superintendent, okay, Barbara is the superintendent. Miss Temple asked Barbara to get tea for all of us. Soon Barbara came in with the tea. How fragrant the steam of the beverage was and the scent of the toast. However, to my dismay, for I was beginning to feel hungry, I discerned only a very small portion. Miss Temple discerned it too. Okay, so Miss Temple called Barbara and she ordered Barbara to get tea for everyone. And after that, soon Barbara came with a tray. Okay, and she bought cake and also tea for everybody. As Barbara withdrew, she added smiling, "Fortunately, I have it in my power to supply deficiencies for this once." Having invited Helen and me to approach the table and placing before each of us a cup of tea with one delicious but thin morsel means in a very small amount, okay, morsel of toast, Miss Temple took out a good-sized seed cake and proceeded to cut generous slices. We satisfied our famished appetites on the delicate fare she liberally supplied. So you can see that now the atmosphere changed. Now their moods changed. Okay, they were on the table, Helen, Jane, and Miss Temple. Everybody was on the table, round table. They were sitting there, they were having a cup of tea, and also they took a very small amount of cake. Okay, tin cake. They took toast also. After the tea was over and the tray had been removed, Miss Temple again summoned us. Okay, summon means to call somebody to the fire. We sat on each side of her, and now a conversation followed between her and Helen. Indeed, it was indeed a privilege to be admitted to hear such a conversation. Now everything was done. Now the tea was done, everything was done, and now Miss Temple again called these two girls around her, and these two girls were standing beside Miss Temple, and now Helen and Miss Temple was talking, and Jane thought that such kind, to witness such kind of conversation was a great thing. She was feeling blessed because they were talking about great things, very knowledgeable things. They conversed of the things I had never heard of, what stores of knowledge they possessed. When the bell announced bedtime, Miss Temple embraced us both, saying as she drew us to her heart, "God bless you, my children." And as the bell rang for the bedtime, it was there, they made the announcement for the bedtime. Before that, Miss Temple and Helen had a lot of conversations about very knowledgeable things. Okay, and after that the announcement for the bedtime was made, and Miss Temple gave, she just embraced, she hugged both the girls, and she said, "God bless you." She blessed both the child. About a week after this, Miss Temple, who had written to Miss Lloyd, received his answer. Miss Temple, having assembled the whole school, announced that an inquiry had been made into the charges alleged against me, and that she was most happy to be able to pronounce me completely cleared from every charge. So finally, after 1 week, what happened? Miss Temple, have you remembered that Miss Temple had written a letter to Mr. Lloyd about what? About Jane. Okay, and she got reply, and also the reply was in the favor of Jane. So Miss Temple, she made an announcement that there is a emergency announcement to be made related to Jane, and she happily announced that Jane was clearly she was clear from every charge. The teachers then shook hands with me and kissed me, and a murmur of pleasure ran through the ranks of my companion. Now teachers also shook hands with Jane, and everybody was happy. Everybody was talking good things about Jane. She was happy now. Thus, relieved of the grievous load, I, from that hour, set to work afresh. I toiled hard. Toil means T-O-I-L means work. Toiled hard, and my success was proportionate to my efforts. In a few weeks, I was promoted to a higher class. Now, she had no reason to be depressed. She was very happy. She was glad, and now she was very relieved from all sort of griefs, and she started to work hard to get success, and also she got success very soon. In a few weeks only, she got promoted to the higher class. That night, going on the bed, I forgot to prepare in my imagination the barmicide. Barmicide means imaginary, okay, super of hot toast potatoes or white bread and fresh milk, with which I was wont to means in habit of, amuse my inward cravings. Cravings means when you want to eat something, hunger. Instead, I feasted on the spectacle of freely penciled houses and tree and picturesque rocks. Picturesque means beautiful. And read and examine. In thought, the possibility of translating the French story with Madame Pirate had shown me that day. So that day, that was the only night, okay, when she went to the bed and she forgot to imagine the fancy foods. She had this habit to imagine the good foods in her mind, because she was so depressed that she wasn't able to eat properly. So she got this habit to imagine beautiful things. She used to imagine very good foods, okay, in her mind. But that particular day she was literally not feeling so hungry, because she had taken lunch. Now she was relieved from every sort of grief, okay. So that particular day she was dreaming about the penciled beautiful house, okay. And she was also thinking about translating the French, because we read in the very starting that she wanted to learn French. I would not now have exchanged Lowood with all its privation for the gateshed and its daily luxuries. Now she said that now I don't want to go from here. Now I would not exchange Lowood for its basic, for the lack of basic things here, and I'm happy here. All she wanted to just, be free from these charges. So students, we have completed this story. If you have any sort of confusion, please do tell me in the comment section, and I will also send you the question answer in the form of PDF. So stay safe, take care.